All right, if everybody could please have a seat and settle down because we're going to start the city council meeting. Thank you again, Susan Miyamoto, for the prelude music. As always, you do an excellent job. All right, we'll move on to the invocation and the flag salute. The invocation will be done by our city manager, and the flag salute will be done by Abby Lee, a.k.a. Thing Number 9. Okay, please stand.
Would you please bow your head? Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we give you thanks for this day. We give you thanks for the city of Temecula, the people, the opportunity to convene here and do the business of the city. Lord, I pray for wisdom and discernment for this city council, for the city staff. I also lift up our first responders that put their life on the line every day, and I know we're acknowledging many this evening for the bravery of saving folks in the line of duty. We give you thanks for them. We ask your protection on them. And Lord, just continue to bless our city in all things, and we give you glory and honor. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, and remain standing for the flag salute by Thing Number 9.
Please join us to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, have a seat. Madam City Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember Edwards?
I am here.
Councilmember Nagar?
Here.
Councilmember Ron?
Here.
Councilmember Schwank?
And I am here.
Mayor Stewart?
Here. All right, so today we have 3 proclamations. The first presentation is to the deputies and citizens who assisted with the January 11th, 2020 traffic accident. Would the deputies and citizens who are here for that recognition please come to the podium? There should be a bunch of you, actually. Mayor Pro Tem Edwards will come down to the podium and present you with the certificates. Well, anyone who was unable to make it tonight, I don't know what that was about. Okay, so Mary Ann, take it away.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is indeed an honor to recognize those who have risked everything to save someone else. And we're so proud to have you here in the city of Temecula with us, part of the family. We have some certificates of recognition for you, and I'm going to read one of them. And other than the names, they all say the same thing, and it comes from the heart of the City Council. City of Temecula Certificate of Recognition, presented on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of the City of Temecula. This one happens to be to Mark Alanis. The City Council is honored to recognize the law enforcement personnel and private citizens who assisted with the rescue of children from a vehicle collision occurring on January the 11th, 2020, near De Portola Road and Calle Arbolas. While there was one fatality, the deputies and citizens responded to the situation without delay and rescued the 3 minor children from inside the burning vehicle, preventing the loss of further life. We're proud of these citizens and for their heroic efforts, and we commend them for their bravery. So thank you so much. Thank you. So Mark, come and get yours. Mark. There you go. Thank you. Now, you guys have to stay up here and line up. This will take just a second. Emmanuel Cooper. No. Okay. And we will make sure, if they weren't able to come, we'll make sure that they receive these. Daniel Hockdor. Okay. I thought it looked like a pretty big stack. Jeffrey Maynard. And go. Mark Mueller. Need an extra hand. Robert Rosas. Oh, very good. Carlos Alvarez. Thank you. Right place, right time. Yeah. You never know when you're going to be needed. Gary Grimwade. And thank you, sir. Stephanie Grimwade. Just driving by, huh? Michael Hughes. Okay, we'll hold this for Michael. And Michael Madigat. Okay. Leslie Owens. She was running by. It's amazing. Juan Sanchez. Coy Stewart. And Richard Strail. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we can do a little bit better than that for these people who saved lives.
Don't sit down yet. Good evening. My name is Zach Hall. I'm the commander of the Southwest Station. And I want to provide a little context for you. I went down at this collision scene just so you kind of understand the work that was done here, not only by our first responders, but our residents that saved lives. So I think it's important for you to know a little bit of the story. Now, I will say that I was not there, and I will give anybody up here the opportunity to speak and provide more context than I do. But I can tell you that while on patrol, our officer saw a vehicle flip over and catch fire. The driver was ejected and ultimately died on scene. However, our first responder and a couple other first responders and then some helpful residents showed up. And while this car was burning and the fuel was dripping down inside the car on fire, they realized that 3 kids were trapped inside. First responders, these residents, they were able to break open the windows, crawl inside, cut these children out of this burning car at severe risk and peril to their own lives. One of the infants, I believe, was stuck in the car and they weren't able to get the infant out. So a plan was devised to rock this burning car back and forth until they could flip it over and then continue to remove this infant, which is ultimately what happened, saving the lives of the 3 kids. And I know some of you made a trip to the hospital as a result. So these children's lives were saved by everybody's efforts here. We, as a city, as an organization, as a community, could not be more proud of them. And I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for stopping and helping. You saved lives out there, and it's appreciated. Thank you.
I get to hug all the police officers. I get to hug them all.
All right. Thank you all again for incredible heroism there. Okay, we have a second presentation for the horsewomen of the Temecula wine country. So would you please come down? And Marianne has some certificates for you all.
I am very excited about presenting these certificates to people who have become very good friends of mine. because several of them, all of them, worked so hard and were accepted into the Rose Parade this year on behalf of the city of Temecula representing us. And it was phenomenal. You guys looked phenomenal. We have a video too. You want to show the video while they're walking down? They started practicing a year in advance for this parade. Down to the most minute detail. These horses were groomed. The ladies looked wonderful. They all had on the same outfits. They spent their own money and a lot of it. And when you come around that corner and you look up at those bleachers and they go about 3 or 4 stories high, it is truly mind-boggling. Pat Omert, she is in the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. She was, if you remember television, cowgirl television with trick riding, it was Pat back in the 1940s and 50s, and she is amazing. And 90 years old. So everyone was required to show up on the 27th of December early to participate in this mandatory horse show called Equus Fest. So all the horse units from the parade were at Equus Fest. The motorhomes and the horse trailers were lined up. It was just a wonderful time. Tom and I rented a tiny motorhome and went and stayed with our friends who all had their horses there. And the response from the crowd was amazing. People knew Temecula. They talked about Temecula. They were yelling our names. How they knew our names, I do not know, but there were so many Temecula residents and Murrieta residents at that parade. She didn't bring her guns tonight. No, Judy. So this is the horsewomen of wine country, and they represented us with honor. 950,000 people along the curbs of the 7-mile parade, and actually millions, 5 or 6 millions worldwide watching this parade on TV, and they heard the name Temecula over and over and over. So thank you for doing such a great job representing our city. And if you think it's hard to get up and get ready for church in the morning, imagine getting up and having to take care of your horse and groom it and fix its hair and tie it off and get all the tack on there and everything, and then you do yourself. It's a lot of work. And I had a wonderful time, so thank you. And we also have Rosie and Libby Wilson-John. So Rosie Wilson is here representing Wilson Creek Winery, and Craig is in the back. And we have the faithful husbands who also served alongside, walking the entire way. So we have a certificate for each of you, and I'm going to read names. And so, Silver, you want to help me? I'm sorry to put you to work, but if you can just open for me. So this is for Bryn, and Jazzy. Oh, she's dropping it. Don't drop it. The horses were amazing throughout the whole parade, and that's not always the case, even very well-trained horses, and our horses were perfect. And I'm going to read you this, too. Let's read it. This one's for Terry Connors and Dottie. The City of Temecula congratulates the horsewomen of Temecula Wine Country on participating as an equestrian entry in the 131st Annual Tournament of Roses Parade held on January 1st, 2020 in Pasadena, California. The horsewomen of Temecula Wine Country is comprised of women from all ages and walks of life who strive to preserve Temecula's rural farming and ranching lifestyles. The team raised funds and awareness and underwent a competitive application and qualifying process to be chosen. They were joined by the award-winning Temecula Cowgirl Color Guard team that you see very often in our parades, and Temecula Carriage Company's professionally driven horse-drawn wagon carrying local community leaders. So I was in the wagon. Police Chief Lisa McConnell was in the wagon, female police chief. Jody Gray, female fire chief. And Karen, who was the CHP commander. So we had all of our first responders were women leaders this year, and I got to ride in the parade representing the city. So on December 29th, 2019, the team also performed their Wild West show for the Rose Parade Equus Fest, which displays their riding skills and allows audiences to visit with the teams and horses in their stables. We are proud of the horsewomen of Temecula Wine Country members for being selected to participate in this distinguished, world-famous event and for proudly representing their community. We wish them continued success with their future accomplishments. And so it's amazing. And if you'd seen the application process, they had to provide the pedigrees and the shot records for all the horses, the numbers of parades the horses had appeared in. By the time Juanita Koth was finished with the application with the help of other women, it was probably in a 6-inch binder. So it is a rigorous application process. So Terry Connors, there you go. So unfortunately, Juanita had to work tonight. She is an RN in the critical care unit, pediatrics critical care unit, and couldn't be here. So I just want to recognize her and tell her how much we love her and miss her. And I told her she could watch this on the rerun next week. Tina, Frey, and Jake. Okay, Silver's going to take hers. And then we have Beth Good and Clay. Beth also served as a coordinator for the women and for rehearsals and trying to get this many women together in the wagon and the riders and all the horses. It's a lot of work. Yeah. Yeah, it's like herding cats. So thank you. And we have Chelsea Keene and Brock. Okay, so we'll hold that one. And Jamie Koth and Cadillac. Tell your mom I said hi. And this is Juanita's. So, Jamie, you want to take this for mom? You got it, right? Yeah. I don't think there are two there. No, there are two. Oh, we're sticking together. That's okay. Stacy Krause and Wyatt. Okay, so Beth is going to take those. And Cindy Lyon and Lotto. Okay. Sheila, Yanez, and Leah. Thank you. And the best motorhome. And the best motorhome, too, I'm telling you. Oh my goodness, this one is for me, and it was my honor to be able to ride in that wagon. All I had to do was show up and wave. And it was an amazing day. Yeah, and I'm going to tell that story in just a minute. Marika Madsen and Gonzo and Murphy. That's the team, that's the wagon team. Karen Mentink. So if you count all the riders, all the riders on horseback, all the riders in the wagon, and all the walkers who kept everybody safe, how many did we have? 31 people. So this is for Pat North Omert, and she is the Cowgirl Hall of Fame member who's 90 years old, and she is amazing. Amazing. She's a fireball. And this is for Luna, the wagon dog. We even had a dog. And Luna rode the whole time with her head laying on the rail of the wagon and one foot hanging down inside the wagon. She was very comfortable. So that one will go to Luna. And Libby Wilson Johns and Craig, you want to come up just in case, Craig? Wilson Creek was a major sponsor for this event, and it's very expensive to be in this parade. And here's Rosie Wilson, everybody's mom. I just love her. And Judy Taylor, she is our roper. She wrote a song, she played the guitar, and she didn't fire off the six shooters, but she can spin them and put them in her pocket. And she walked and twirled that rope the entire way, just like Monty Montana. Yeah, so thank you, Judy. Our own former police chief, Lisa McConnell. So we will save this. Silver's going to see her this week, so we'll give that to Lisa. And then Jody Gray was our fire chief, and she is retiring. I don't know if she's going to retire to a ranch and get horses or not, but we will save this for Jody. Yeah. And Jessica Connors. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mom. And Silver, last but certainly not least, Silver went through quite an ordeal. Her horse became very, very ill, and we didn't know if he was going to even make it. And the veterinarians on site at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center were wonderful, and Kai was able to walk in the parade, and he did a great job. And so Silver's lived in Temecula a long, long time. So I have one more thing. I actually had a meeting with the mayor of Pasadena on New Year's Eve. Right. On New Year's Eve. And he was nice enough. City Hall wasn't open, but he came down to City Hall in the afternoon, and we went upstairs and met for an hour and 40 minutes, exchanging ideas, talking about Pasadena and difficulties or challenges that we have in common. We talked about the Rose Parade. And the mayor, of course, gets to ride in the Rose Parade as the honorary position in this beautiful, huge stagecoach pulled by 6 Belgian horses. Yeah. So the mayor was nice enough, and Craig Johns went with me when we talked to the mayor, and I made a pretty gutsy request. The mayor actually had his own Rose Parade pins that he handed out. And I asked him for 30 pins, and he gave them to me, so I would love to give them to you as a remembrance of the parade. Right here. It really is the chance of a lifetime. And I don't know if one time is enough. Is one time enough? Yeah. It's a lot of work, but a wonderful experience. And I can tell you, as you're going along on that parade route, yes, you look up and see tens of thousands of people and huge bleachers, but actually the people along the curb, it's just like our parades. I talked to them, reached out to them. We, asked them questions about their babies, and it was really wonderful. And virtually everyone, am I right, had heard or knows something about Temecula. And it was, they do now. And it was a very positive experience. Did you get one at the mayor's office? There you go. Okay. Everybody, I don't want to forget you. Okay, is that everybody? Yes? Well, council members, I have enough left for you. So ladies, on behalf of the city of Temecula, thank you for presenting such a marvelous image of our city and everything that we stand for, outdoors, wholesome, lifestyle, horses, ranches, open space. So thank you for all your hard work. And Juanita, we're sorry you're not here, but we love you.
Thank you. Way to represent.
Should we get the other team members or no?
All right, so we're on to our third and final presentation, and this will be done by Jillian Larson for the Reality Rally 2020. Could you please play her video?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Temecula, city staff, everybody. I want you to see what these guys did this year. So thank you, Jonathan. Take it away. So that was it, guys. Now let's see what happens for this year. But just in case anybody doesn't know, Reality Rally is a 3-day event. We raise money for Michelle's Place, Cancer Resource Center. It's 3 days of fun, but it's for fundraising. And we start out with a Wilson Creek event. We are going into our 10th year of producing this. Every single one of us is a volunteer. We put our heart, souls, and passion into making this happen. It starts at Wilson Creek, and they have sponsored us for all 10 years. It's amazing. We have a reception there with a lot of fun. Then we have a crazy fun lip sync showdown, and that is going to be at South Coast Winery this year. And then we have the amazing race kind of game all over Old Town. So as you saw, Lake Elsinore has won for the past 8 years. So what I have loved as well is that we have cities from all over the valley come into this competition. We had 10 city teams last year. And we want to see, and I'm going to say this loudly, but Lake Elsinore can't hear because they are far away, but we want Temecula to bring it back. You guys won it the first year. But in addition, the entire thing is about raising money, but I do love the collaboration, the camaraderie, the fun between the cities, and I'm looking at some very capable people right there behind the dais. I think we can have several groups. I'd also love to see some of you in the lip sync. That could be totally awesome because you know what fun that can be. So please join us. And this is Joni Hoover. She is our team relations director. She's going to tell you how you can do it. But please join us. It's realityrally.com, raising money for Michelle's Place. 3 days of fun for funds for Michelle's Place. And over to Joni.
Good evening, everyone. I'm a little taller, so I'm just going to hold this up. As you know, we have the teams of 4, and so it can be a team of 3 individuals plus a reality star, unless you would rather have 4 of your own members on your team. And I will send out a registration link so that you all can put your teams together. We would love to have multiple teams if you'd like. And it's very easy. You register, I send you the information, you show up on that day, have some fun. And we look forward to having you back again. If you have any questions, realityrally.com, just tag us and we'll reach out to you.
And just one last word. You heard the word reality star. For people who may not know, I was on the TV show Survivor, and this is where the whole thing started. After being booted and crying in the jungle for about one day, I thought, what can I do with this? So a big part of the event is having reality stars come to town. And we have usually between 50 and 80 reality stars from about 30 different TV shows. They have to raise money to even be here. This is not just a 3-day awesome, amazing, fun party. Yep, it is. But they have to raise money to be here. So we encourage everybody, the whole city Temecula, the whole valley, everybody out there listening. We'll see it on YouTube in a week. And come and join Reality Rally, and thank you. Any questions? Any hands for lip sync or game or something?
Mayor Pro Tem has a question for you.
Well, I say this every year. Can't we find some ringers to put on our team so we can beat Lake Elsinore finally? I mean, can we go, like, we have to have some. We do. We have great police department. We've got great interns, from our high schools. In fact, we have one of our career tech education students shadowing John Hall back in the sound booth. And that would be Mr. Ione, Carlos Ione. I mean, we know a lot of kids. Can't we, adopt them for a weekend?
Sure.
You are welcome to have anyone represent the city of Temecula.
Why,
so
thank
it can
you.
be from staff or council, family members. We would just love to see our city represented again. Well, not again, but every year you do. And maybe we can bring it home.
Steve Manos from Lake Elsinore City Council is absolutely unbearable this time of year because they win every year. He rubs it in every place he goes. So I've been avoiding him so far this year, so we'll see.
Don't avoid him, go right at him. And we did have 5 of the area mayors last year in the event, so I am looking right there
I will
at
be
Mr.
there.
Mayor.
I will be there.
Stu, go Stu!
Yes.
Any other questions?
Nope, we're good.
And thank you guys. You've been hugely supportive every year. We couldn't do it without the city behind us, all of our sponsors and everybody. This is an amazing city, and this is the place to do this event. So thank you all for your support.
Thank you. Okay, we're off to public comments. Madam City Clerk, do we have any public comments?
Yes, we do, Mr. Mayor, so we can go ahead and roll the video.
Hi, I'm Willa with the Special Events Team. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the City Council on items that appear within the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. If the speaker chooses to address the City Council on an item listed on the consent calendar or a matter not listed on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filled out and filed with the city clerk prior to the City Council addressing public comments and the consent calendar. Once the speaker is called to speak, please come forward. For all public hearing or council business items on the agenda, a request to speak form may be filed with the city clerk prior to the City Council addressing that item. On those items, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes.
All right, can we have our first speaker, please?
Mr. Mayor, our first speaker is Ginger Greaves, to be followed by our last speaker, Megan Marion. Ginger?
Hello, Ginger.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Thank you very much. Ginger Greaves, Executive Director with the Santa Rosa Plateau Nature Education Foundation. Wanted to come this evening to do 2 things. Number 1, give you an update on the fire fund at the Santa Rosa Plateau as a result of that fire back in September, but also to thank you very much. We received a donation notice from the City Council. And as of today, with your donation, our goal was a minimum of $100,000. We're trying to raise $25,000. As of today, we're at $88,950 with our last event to occur on April 25th. The reserve Sylvan Meadows is open. The 2 trailheads, Hidden Valley and the Vernal Pools, we understand will be open, but we don't have a date, but hopefully it'll be soon. Also, one of your business restaurants here in Temecula, Garage Bear Pizza, is doing a fundraiser, continuing to do so on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Please go there and enjoy their pizza, and they'll donate 25% to the fire fund if you just say SRP Fund, Fire Fund. So that is the update as of today, and thank you again very, very much for your donation. It's very much appreciated. Do you have any questions?
No questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, our final speaker is Megan Marion.
Good evening. We are student council members from Isabel Barnett Elementary School. Did you know that Read Across America Day is coming really soon? We are going to celebrate on Monday, March 2nd, which is Dr. Seuss's birthday.
We are hoping you can come to our school to join in the fun.
We came here tonight looking for readers. We thought it'd be awesome to ask city leaders. We would like to invite you to read at our school. The students would love it. It would be really cool. You could bring a favorite book from home or borrow one from us. We have plenty of books for you. Having a school library is a plus. There is one more thing. We have one more request. We hope you can do this. Please try your best. Our school district has a challenge to show where you read. Only one picture is necessary. That's all you will need. Here are some examples we brought you to see. We hope you are able to read and say cheese. Show our students and teachers that you love to read and that all of our reading will help us succeed. We hope you can come for this special day. We made you some invitations, so come if you may.
Awesome. Well, and I do think it is something that a couple of our city councilmen do every year. And yeah.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to bring the Temecula Municipal Code again this year.
There you go.
It was a big winner last time, so looking forward.
All right. We're off to council reports. Do any of my colleagues have a council? Oh, Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good
Yeah.
evening to you. Two things somewhat related. Maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, the council had discussed a corporate sponsorship program and adopted a program. But I think the time has come to revisit that program. So I'm going to ask Mr. City Manager if you can bring that back for council discussion and a decision at a time that you think is warranted. But I also think it's kind of important to bring it back sooner than later for discussion. And then somewhat related, and this at your discretion as well, Mr. City Manager, along with Mr. Hawkins, we're getting a lot of synergy out at the pump track. And I want to talk about branding that pump track. And I think in order to brand it, we also have to look at the corporate sponsorship program as well. So however you want to align that, which one goes before the other and when you want to bring them both, I'll leave that up to you. All right, thank you, and that's all.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Councilman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a very brief video, so if Jonathan, if we could roll the video, please.
Hi, my name is Sharice Turner, Community Services Supervisor for the Old Town Temecula Community Theater. And I'd like to invite our community to join us for an inspirational night of our celebration of American Black history through music on February 29th at 7:30 p.m. The Temecula Valley Museum and the Old Town Theater partner to present an evening of thought-provoking vocal expression through music. During slavery, music was a way for slaves to express their feelings, whether it was for sorrow, joy, inspiration, or hope. Songs were passed down from generation to generation and influenced religious and American traditions for today. Our celebration will be hosted by Grammy performer Eve Evans and Grammy award-winning producer, lecturer, and arranger Kamal Kenyatta. The night gets better as you enjoy music from Eddie Baltrip and Fulfillment, who I've actually known since I was about 10 years old. The choir is so amazing and you will enjoy everything that they sing. They're very soulful and very entertaining. Cuban violinist Darren Santa Maria takes us on a musical spiritual journey. And finally, Frankie Taylor, who's a personal friend of mine, will entertain us by bridging the gap and just inspiring a hope in our community. This is a very special one-night-only performance that is family-friendly. $20 tickets are on sale now at the theater ticket office and also online at temeculatheater.org.
Thank you, Jonathan. I think this is a very important conversation that our community can have. A couple years ago, we produced Freedom Riders, which was a show about the civil rights movement. This will definitely be educational and inspirational. I encourage everyone to attend. It's something that we often don't learn about in school. So this is a great opportunity for our community to learn about this. And then just a quick note, if you see me get off the dais, I'm not feeling well. I've been battling something the last couple days. I'm not being rude. I just maybe need to step off for a second. Just wanted everyone to know. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Marianne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I mentioned it a few minutes ago, but I'd like to thank the city for what they do for the career technical education students at our 3 high schools. The city has stepped up and allowed the career tech ed students to job shadow, and they've job shadowed in public works, in engineering, and like I said tonight, Carlos Ione is back in the sound booth. He's from Great Oak High School, and he is part of the arts, media, and entertainment pathway. The school district has 4,000 students in career tech education, and it's a great way to prepare yourself to go to college, a great way to prepare yourself to go straight into the workforce because we get hands-on training and job shadowing, and also it's a great way to get ready to join the military. So, City of Temecula, thank you for stepping up for our CTE kids, and I'm totally prejudiced because I'm the coordinator of CTE at the Temecula Valley Unified School District. But, you know, it's our kids' future, and it's a future of our community and our workforce. So thank you, guys.
All right. Anything, Matt? Okay. Well, I do have one also. So, Jonathan, if you could play that video.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Around and About Temecula. I'm your host, Jeff Lawrence. Now, I've lived here for nearly 30 years, and I'm still discovering new things about our city. Our newly appointed mayor just released his theme for this year. It's called Temecula Fun. He's challenging everyone to get out and discover all that we have to offer. He really wants to see you enjoying the many activities, programs, and events that we have planned in 2020. So let's check in and learn more about what's in store and discover some places you're going to want to check out for yourself.
Stu, and every year the mayor has the privilege of picking a tone for the year. So you come up with a word, and the very first one was Temecula has heart, and then we had Temecula love, and then we had Temecula safe. Well, I've determined this year is going to be Temecula fun. So our community services department has come up with a year-long contest called Discover Temecula. So we are going to be encouraging you to show up to events and even locations such as City Hall or other locations around the city and submit it to the community service department. And at the end of the year, there'll be a drawing, and the winner will get something absolutely fantastic. You'll absolutely want to do this contest. So I encourage you all out there to experience Temecula fun by taking part in this year-long competition, because I love competitions. So that's what this is. This is a competition to have fun in Temecula. So if you want to take part in this contest, go to our website, temeculaca.gov/discovertemecula, and you'll be able to see what the next month's challenge is going to be. So let's have fun with this, guys. I mean, this is our community service department does amazing things in this city, and I think a lot of people have no clue what goes on. So this is an opportunity for all of you out there to enjoy what we provide for you guys. So thank you very much. Have some Temecula fun out there. All right.
The mayor's new Discover Temecula challenge sounds like fun, and I'm sure you're going to see him around and about Temecula this year. We saw that the Old Town Temecula Community Theater and the Ronald H. Roberts Temecula Public Library both have plenty of things you might not have known about, so make it a point to get out and enjoy them. Be sure to stay tuned for more information on the Discover Temecula Challenge by visiting us at temeculaca.gov/discovertemecula. Let the fun begin.
All right. So this was kind of bore out of, I've lived in this town for 29 years, and I really didn't know what was going on in Temecula because I lived the busy life. You know, there's a lot of things that we all do every day, and sometimes we don't take that time to get out there and see what the city has to offer. So that's when I got involved with the city, well, on city council, and then with the community service department. I came across all these amazing events that go on, and I really think people, if they knew they existed, would attend and find that we do live in a small town. It feels like a small town even to me now at 115,000. You know, I walk in, I run into people all over the place that I've known for 29 years. So get out there and enjoy some Temecula fun here. So, all right. So we're on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted in one roll call vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Number 1, waive reading of standard ordinance and resolutions. Number 2, approve the action minutes of January 28, 2020. Number 3, approve the list of demands. Number 4, approve specifications and authorize solicitation of construction bids for citywide slurry coat seal program fiscal year 2019-2020. Number 5, approve master license agreement with Riverside County Flood Control and Water Conservation District for bicycle and pedestrian trails, and authorize the Director of Public Works to execute site-specific license exhibits. Number 6, provide design, fabrication, purchase, and installation agreement with the Public Restroom Company for Ronald Reagan Sports Park Restroom Expansion and Renovation Project, PW 18-03. Number 7, approve the Third Amendment to the agreement for the consultant services with T.Y. Lin International for French Valley Parkway, I-15 improvements, Phase 2, PW 16-01. Number 8, accept improvements and file the notice of completion for pavement rehabilitation, citywide Rancho Vista Road, Paseo Goleta to Butterfield Stage, PW 1901, and that's it.
Move approval.
Get.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote. All right, that passes 5-0. I'm going to recess the city council meeting to the next scheduled meeting for the Community Service District and the successor agency to the Temecula Redevelopment Agency, and the Temecula Housing Authority and the Temecula Finance Authority.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call Temecula Community Services District meeting to order. Madam City Clerk, please note that we are all still here. Do we have any public comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and dispense with the reading of the rules. We'll move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted with one roll call vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless members of the Temecula Community Services District request specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. We have item number 9, approve the action minutes of January 28th, 2020.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Great, that passes 5-0. Director of Community Services, do we have a report this evening?
Mr. President, I think the mayor covered the Discover Temecula Challenge in depth, but one quick item. Just wanted to make good on a youth and government promise. So Kaylee and Bryce, our youth and government community services students, here's your official shout out. Shouting out.
Yay.
Thanks again on the job well done and good luck moving forward. End of report.
Thank you very much, Director. General Manager's report?
Nothing further tonight, Mr. President.
Any Board of Directors reports?
I'd just like to reiterate what Director Hawkins said. Youth in Government is an amazing program where students take leadership roles as department heads in the city, and they shadow the department heads the first day. And they have an election. There are 5 city council members elected from among the high school students. And then on the second day, they have a mock city council meeting. And the these students who shadowed our department heads actually spent the first day preparing the staff report, just like we have for our council meetings. And then they hold a full-blown council meeting, and it is an amazing thing to watch. We are going to be in good hands in the future, I can tell you that. So thank you, everybody, for as hard as you work on youth and government. City Clerk Randy really does help to organize the whole thing, and it takes staff an entire 2 days to do this program, and so we love doing it every year. Thank you, everybody, the kids that participated, and thank you guys for making it such a special day.
Thank you, Councilmember Edwards. Any other comments? We're good? All right, I'll move adjournment. We are adjourned.
All right, I'm going to call to order the successor agency to the Temecula Redevelopment Agency. All right, and Madam City Clerk, we're still here. Do we have any public comments? All right, so I will, item number 10 is action minutes of January 28th, 2020.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote. All right, so do we have any executive directors' reports?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Any board of directors?
Nope.
Okay. I will adjourn the SARTA meeting to reconvene the city council meeting. We got item number 11, appoint members of the community services and public traffic safety commission. Madam City Clerk, can I have a report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you may have a report. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Currently, there are 2 vacancies each on the Community Services Commission and the Public Traffic Safety Commission. The application period for these vacancies ran from November 1st to December 31st, 2019. 21 applications were received in response to the advertised vacancies. 2 withdrawals were received thereafter. The term for the vacancies is 3 years and will run through December 31st, 2022. The applications, along with any supporting documentation, was provided to the City Council and were a part of the agenda packet for tonight's meeting. It is now recommended that the City Council receive a brief presentation from each applicant and make the appointments thereafter to fill the vacancies. And unless there are any questions, that concludes staff's report.
Do my colleagues have any questions? All right. So let's start the application presentations.
Mr. Mayor, the first presentation will be given by John Atherton, to be followed by Tyler Booth. If you would like to come to the podium and provide your presentation.
And I would ask, since we have so many, could Tyler Booth be sitting like in the front row? So if your name is called next, just come up to the front row so it's a quicker exchange.
That's probably Tyler right there.
So looks
So
like Tyler, you're up.
So the first person was John Atherton. John Atherton is not present?
No.
Okay. No, John. Tyler Booth, to be followed by Craig Davis.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. My name is Tyler Booth. Thank you for the opportunity and your consideration of serving on either commission. A good place for me to begin is with a story about how I got here tonight. I am a Temecula resident, homeowner, husband, and proud father of 2. For over a decade, I worked within a 10-person legal team for a publicly traded biopharmaceutical company in San Diego. We filed thousands of patents and trademarks globally and successfully navigated a drug through the FDA approval process in 2012. A decade of corporate experience was valuable, but having completed an undergraduate degree in political science, I knew that my interests were still rooted in service to my community. I decided that working in the public service was what I needed to do next. But I knew I needed more education, so while working full-time and starting a family, I earned a master's degree in public administration. In addition to this continued education, I got 2 internships, one with the city of Carlsbad, one right here with the city of Temecula. In 2016, I took these newfound skills, new learned skills, to the Inland Empire Economic Partnership, where I served as a liaison for C-level executives, elected officials, regional thought leaders, economists, business owners, and educators. I stand before you today, qualified, ready, and eager to offer my time towards solutions and recommendations that improve the quality of life throughout this city. In addition to my current position with the City of Riverside's public utility, I have been president of a community HOA in San Diego for nearly 10 years. During this time, I've had dealings with elected officials, Sandag, business owners, vendors, and of course, the residents of the community that I serve. We are currently in talks with the City of San Diego and Sandag to sell a portion of our property. I believe that these efforts are an example of the type of hard work and solution-based perspectives that I could bring to a city commission. In addition, I help manage a 2,500-person Facebook page in Harveston. We facilitate relevant local information and encourage people to be active in the process. In fact, I was here a few weeks ago to provide public comment. After meeting with my councilman, I rallied a group from our neighborhood to see if there was anything that could be done about traffic issues impacting our neighborhood before I gave public comment. I combed through historical records, agendas, minutes, and traffic calming device guidelines to see what could be applied to our neighborhood. I looked at what had already been done in other areas of the city. I stood before you 3 weeks ago, having done my research and developed an ask rooted in what is possible and acceptable within the city's guidelines. I thank Mr. Thomas for showing up the other day and having a chat with us about that very issue. I believe that this success serves as an example of my willingness to put in the work necessary to provide recommendations rooted in proper research and fact-based analysis. Looking forward, my goal is to not simply speak about these issues impacting my community. I actually want to work towards solutions. I will borrow the words of Councilwoman Edwards from an October 2019 article in the Valley News, where she stated what would make a good commissioner. She said, quote, "I want to see somebody who loves Temecula, wants to protect it, preserve it, and take care of it for their children and grandchildren. I affirm today that I am indeed someone who loves Temecula, wants to protect it, wants to preserve it, wants to leave it a better place for my children and my grandchildren. Finally, and most importantly, I believe I represent the next generation of public service, a generation that is quite frankly underrepresented in local government. I live in Temecula. I'm raising a family in Temecula. I want to make a difference and be involved. Thank you very much."
Thank you. All right. Craig, you ready?
Mr. Mayor, if we can ask your colleagues if anybody has any questions
Oh.
of Mr. Booth
I'm
first.
sorry, yes. Any questions of Mr. Booth? No? Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, City staff. Thank you for having me here. My name is Craig Davis. I am a longtime a longtime Temecula resident. And when I got the notice from Randy regarding the fact that I have to come up here and speak for 5 minutes to you guys, I was trying to think, what the heck would I talk about for 5 minutes? So what I thought I would do is kind of give you guys a timeline of what I've gone through on my journey here to Temecula. So in 1976, my family moved from Los Angeles to Fallbrook, and I know Fallbrook's not Temecula, but my mom took on a job at Bianchi Leather. And those of you that have been around here for a long time know that Bianchi Leather was here for a while. It happens to be right down the street from my current office. So during the 70s, those late 70s, I'd come down here quite often. And we went to the Temecula tractor races and other things within Old Town. And as a 10, 11, 12-year-old, I thought, who would ever move to Temecula? Well, 6 years later, 1982, we did. We moved to right on the Temecula-Murrieta border. And we lived actually on Jefferson Avenue, believe it or not. And if you guys have been around here back in those days, Jefferson Avenue was full of cattle and horses and so forth. And we lived in a trailer right there outside the cattle. And that's where I was for my junior and senior year of high school. Ironically, my junior year of high school, I worked at Noggles, which is now the Del Taco, if you guys remember that, on Jefferson, those of you that have been here for a while. My senior year, I worked at Temecula Lumber One, and Temecula Lumber One is now the Stampede. So I've seen a few changes throughout the years. 1984, I graduated high school, and those of you that know, Temecula Valley High School hadn't been built yet. I believe it opened up in 1985. So those of us that are from this valley all either went to Elsinore High School or Linfield High School. Those were our only choices back then. So after that, I spent 1985 and 1987 at Mount San Jacinto College. I say that I played baseball there. My mom still lived here in the valley. I moved away. The last thing I wanted to do was stay where I grew up at, so I moved to Carlsbad, got a job at Farmers Insurance, where I've been now for 33 years. I met my lovely wife, Kathy, who she's been with me now for 29 years. And the first thing we did when we had our first child is we moved back to Temecula, and that was in 1993. So I've done a lot of things throughout the years. I coached baseball here in the valley, basketball, soccer, served on several youth boards. I'm a longtime Rotarian now. I am the immediate past president of the Rotary Club of Temecula. I still do plenty of things within the community. Like the gentleman that was before me, I love Temecula. I love everything about this community, except for the traffic, which I think everybody would agree with that. But other than that, this is where I'm going to retire. I hope that my kids, when they get their jobs later on and they can buy a house, that they stay here within the community as well. So with that, thank you very much.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Davis? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Our next speaker is Jan Hawks, to be followed by Dan Keck.
Good evening, City Council and other members and everyone in the audience. I firmly believe that for any community to be strong, the family has to be strong. The community services of Temecula provided the means to build strong families, and that's why I want to serve as a commissioner. I want to share a couple of stories to show you how these services have helped strengthening my family. When I first moved to Temecula 12 years ago, I was working full-time as a scientist until one day, out of nowhere, I became a stay-at-home mom. All of a sudden, I entered a completely unknown and scary world of home alone with a baby. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't like it. I wanted to go back to work where I could talk to adults and not goo goo gaga all day. Then one day, I discovered the library story time. I discovered there were other moms and babies. I'm no longer alone. I could get lost in the world of imagination stories with my baby. Afterwards, while all the babies were busy crawling around, we moms could talk about important topics like diaper rash or baby acne. That was truly a lifeline for me. I never looked back, and I've stayed home ever since. Fast forward to last summer, when my kids were 7 and 8, we participated in the Build Your Own Boat regatta for the very first time. We didn't know what to expect until we got there. It was serious business. Each family was given exactly 1 hour to build a 2-man boat with limited supplies. My husband was a head designer. After much hustle and bustle, we built the best boat, I thought. We named her the Great Hawk after our family name, and we expected her to soar to the finish line like a hawk. As soon as the whistle blew, my son Arthur and his friend Caden jumped in. Uh-oh, the boat was sinking, but they kept rowing until the boat was completely submerged. Their valiant effort was captured on the front page of the Valley News. After they pulled out the soggy boat, everyone was crushed. My daughter was crying that she didn't even get to ride in it. Right there, we turned that into a teachable moment. We talked about never giving up and never losing hope. We talked about life is not winning or losing. What we learned from this experience and how we can improve next year. One thing for sure, never name a boat after a bird that doesn't swim. As we were leaving, Arthur and Caden dragged the soggy boat behind them, their heads held high as if they just won. After drawing it out, they had so much fun fixing it and repairing it, improving it. They even sailed our daughter Zena in it. This time, it didn't sink. A seemingly disaster turned into a great family memory, not to mention Arthur would always have the newspaper to brag about, and that is Temecula fun, like you just mentioned. Those two stories are just a glimpse of what the Temecula Community Services have done for my family. I wanted to give back so that other families can forge strong bonds just like mine. It'll be my great privilege and honor to serve as a commissioner for the city of Temecula, the city I love and I call home.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just one quick one. How long have you been a resident?
In Temecula, 12 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right.
The next speaker is Dan Keck, to be followed by Chris Kristoveski.
Hello, members. How are you?
Good.
My name is Dan Keck. Basically, I wanted to review basically what I'm applying for here. I thought I'd read it. The Public Traffic Safety Commission makes recommendations to the City Council on traffic matters within the city, such as speed zones, stop signs, signals, pavement markings, traffic design, and engineering. The Commission also recommends traffic enforcement measures, and coordinate city activities with the CHP Sheriff County Road Department and other regional traffic management and planning agencies. And there's some additions, but I've been a resident also for a long time and have, as you have, our resumes there too. As it relates to the Traffic Commission, my background for 10 years was driving for UPS. So when I was doing that, I also became the shop steward. But in relation to, again, the Traffic Safety Commission, we did time studies on different routes, right turns and how they were more efficient for the vehicles and the drivers and deliveries, et cetera, and so forth. So I wanted to bring that up. And then the big changes we've seen, there's been a tremendous amount of changes right now just within the last few months with the traffic speed limits being reduced, the new slurry sealing going on in Meadowview and all the different areas. So it's been a lot of changes from 2 lanes or 4 lanes to 2 lanes on La Serena. There's just been a tremendous amount. And I think it would be personally as an asset, I mean, I'm also an insurance broker independent. I've been office opened October of '92. And also being in the insurance industry, I think probably helps a little bit in respect to dealing with clients that have been in accidents and understanding how the accidents are portrayed and resolved in the industry. I'll move on to the next one, Community Service Commission. Again, if we don't mind if I read that, the Community Service Commission reviews and makes recommendations to the City Council concerning the Parks and Recreation element of the general plan, and works with the Temecula School District, other city departments, and community groups to provide parks and recreation services programs for the community. Again, I'll go back to my being raised, so to speak, in Temecula and working with the summer camp and the CRC. I worked quite a bit as a chaperone. I worked with Tony Momarco back in the day for about 10 years, off and on. Volunteered a lot of time as far as making up some games, chaperoning to the different, I think it was once a week we used to go to the zoo or the movies or whatever. I did that for about 10 years. So that was very interesting. And I also coached my son through soccer, basketball, Little League for about 10 years in that respect also. I've been a part of its growth. I do love Temecula. We've been here actually started doing business with Prudential in 1988. Doing mailers down here was very interesting because in the life industry, you start at a kitchen table. So I would mail north, south, east, and west. And I just fell in love mailing south to Temecula. I started focusing my future there and eventually opened my office in '92. I guess that's all I have to say other than, I guess, in respect, there's a quote from Alex Haley that says, "Every time an old person dies, it's like a library burning down." Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Questions, anybody? No? Okay. All right.
The next speaker is Chris, to be followed by Eric Levine.
Eric.
Hello again, City Council. How are you all doing?
Good.
Zach, thank you for being here when you're not feeling well. So again, greetings. My name is Chris Gerstevsky. I am a candidate for the Community Services Commission. It's a great honor for me to be considered for this particular role, especially here in my hometown of Temecula. As I mentioned back in December when I addressed you, I've been a resident here in Temecula since 1995. I graduated high school from TVHS back in 1997 when it was the only high school in town. And I currently live here with my family, my wife and 3 kids, ages 10, 7, and 4. For the last 10 years, I've owned and operated a successful small business here in town. During that time, I've also had the privilege and opportunity to commence a career in the field of parks and recreation. I have been blessed with the opportunity to work with different agencies such as the County of San Diego and currently with the City of Escondido. The field has become my passion. I love parks and recreation. It's what I do. I mean, what other area of government gives our citizens such joy and directly impacts their quality of life, even to the extent of their health and wellness? It's a big deal, and I take it very seriously. In my current role, some of the things I do, I promote and organize new new programming for the city of Escondido. Recent programs, some examples have included Hike with the Ranger at Daly Ranch and Stars in the Park, just to name a couple. I've also established strategic partnerships with prestigious organizations like REI, which I recently brought in-house to the city of Escondido. They're going to be hosting programming for the city as well. It's a big deal. Besides this, my skill set also includes land management, administration, contract negotiations. I lead an elite ranger division that reaches out to the homeless populations and enforces municipal ordinances. I secure grants, and I do budgetary planning in my role. My experience and expertise in positions of increasing responsibility and authority, combined with my master's degree in public administration and my certification as a Parks and Rec professional through the NRPA, make me a very highly qualified candidate for this position. So the big question that Randy asked us to answer tonight is, what drew me off the sidelines and made me interested in applying for this position? Why would I want to serve in this capacity? Well, jokingly, I said maybe it's the fact that I'm finally done changing diapers. My 4-year-old's out of diapers. I'm very proud of that. And I've actually been able to get a full night's sleep. But seriously, and more accurately, I wish to serve Temecula in this capacity of Community Services Commissioner because I have a deep desire to benefit the community that I so lovingly call my home. I want to give back, and I cannot think of a better way than jumping in with both feet and pouring myself into this role. When I see the awe and amazement in my children's eyes during the 4th of July fireworks extravaganza at Ronald Reagan Sports Park, or when I see their determination at riding that pump track, or when I hear the excitement in their voice as they play on our first-class playgrounds throughout the city, or even when I see their motor skills develop through swim, ballet, soccer, you name it, they're involved in it all. It motivates me. It makes me want to give back to the community. I want to use my unique skill set and my life experiences, professional development in both the public and private sectors to benefit the broader Temecula community. I want to help rather than burden both the city and the Community Services Department by providing positive and professional assistance. I want to help the Commission continue to be a force multiplier in the city's efforts to provide excellent recreational opportunities. I promise to uphold the values and traditions passed on through the generations and uphold our city's mission, which is to maintain a safe, secure, clean, healthy, and orderly community. Our citizens deserve it, and I'm willing to do it. Thank you again for considering me for this position. It's definitely a blessing being up here addressing you, and I truly hope to be selected for position and getting my elbows dirty. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Oh.
Yeah. Chris, real quick, how long have you been a Temecula resident?
Since 1995.
Since 95. And when was the last city event you attended?
4th of July fireworks extravaganza with my kids. That was the biggest one that I can remember.
Sounds good. And then just a general question, which maybe others can ask as well. There's literally probably 100 events that go on regarding community services commissioners, and while they don't attend every single event, they're happening on the weekends, they're happening at night, they're happening during the day. Do you think you have that type of time?
I do, and my kids would love it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Eric Levine, to be followed by David Maddox.
Nice jacket.
Thank you. Greetings, Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, and citizens of the great city of Temecula. As many of you know, I'm Eric Levine. I've lived in the Temecula Valley for 15 years. I want to start by recognizing our 2020 theme, Temecula Fun. So, thought about juggling, doing some karaoke, maybe some magic tricks, but I don't really do any of those things very well. But nothing says fun like a flamingo jacket.
Right.
Don't worry, I've prepared some remarks.
On a more serious note, I am thankful to be here tonight and have this opportunity. This public application process is new for the boards and commissions. During a similar public process in 2015, I first introduced myself to this body. That opening led me to an opportunity to fill a vacancy on the Community Services Commission, and it's been a pleasure to serve for the last few years. Like many of us, I first became involved with the city through my kids. Both attended summer day camp, and my wife and daughter took some contract classes. I also became familiar with the parks and the sports venues as my son played basketball, soccer, and I coached his flag football teams. We joined the Boy Scouts in 2011 and were regulars in the parades. In fact, my first formal meeting with the city staff was when I became the Cub Master of PAC 614, and our Pinewood Derby was held during the Rod Run. Since becoming a commissioner, I've learned so much more about all of the important work that TCSD offers our community. I mentioned but a few things. In reality, I often sit in amazement during our commission meetings as staff recaps the past month's activities. Director Hawkins has assembled an all-star team of managers and staff to run all of the fun and important programs and services available to us. By the way, many events couldn't happen without the incredible support from our many loyal volunteers. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank the entire TCSD family for what they do for all of us. As a commissioner, I provide feedback on behalf of our citizens. I've done my best to participate in programs and attend events, and that's a two-way street. I also share information out to anyone who will listen about how to engage with the city on various concerns, as well as all of the great things happening around town. Joining community services was a natural extension to service activities we enjoy as a family. I've remained involved in scouting. My wife, Erin, is a founder and advisor for the Girl Talk Mentoring Program and is immediate past president of the National Charity League Murrieta Temecula chapter. My daughter, Lauren, is an athlete and a peer leader at Chaparral High School. She volunteers with her mom through Girl Talk and through National Charity League. My son, Adam, is also an athlete at Chaparral and a Life Scout, and just a project away from earning Eagle Scout. In short, service is not only an important part of who we are as a family, but also a reason we feel so at home here in Temecula. I'm here tonight to request your consideration for reappointment to the Community Services Commission. The commission does meaningful and important work, and history shows that both our commissioners and staff are here for the same purpose, to provide programs and services worthy of a first-class city. Whether emceeing an event, touring a new school, dressing up and judging Halloween costumes, or reading to students for Read Across America, I've had a blast. I would be honored to continue to serve and build upon our successes. Or, if you see fit for me to serve in a different capacity, I remain your humble servant, and I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
Eric.
Yes, sir.
You've been on the commission now for 3 years?
5 years.
5 years, that long. So you should be able to answer this. Tell me a little something quickly about Temecula culture.
Temecula culture is very family friendly. I think people feel engaged, they feel safe, and they, I think, ideally want to do as much as they can around the city.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, please.
David Maddox, to be followed by Brady McCarron.
Good evening. Temecula is more than just a place. It's a feeling. For me, it's the feeling I get when I drive through town and I pass by all these places that hold meaning and memories. I pass by the duck pond where my wife and I went on our first date 10 years ago. Or I pass by the high school and I hear the marching band playing practicing some of their same drills that I learned 20 years ago and that I still know by heart. Or I drive by some of the parks where I used to play almost 30 years ago and where now, today, I'm learning how to play again with kids of my own. Temecula is a feeling of tradition and opportunity. It's a feeling of community and belonging. And to me, Temecula just feels like home. You know, growing up here, from my first day of kindergarten at Sparkman Elementary to my last day of high school at TVHS, I always knew that this city was special. And yet, like so many kids who grew up here, by the time I graduated, I was ready to move out and move on. It wasn't that I didn't love Temecula enough to stay, it's that this community gave me everything I needed to grow upward, to expand my horizons, to go out into the world and make my own way. And so that's what I did. But it wasn't long after I left for college that I started missing Temecula. And one thing I can tell you, having lived in other cities for a number of years, is that I didn't truly understand what my home meant to me until I spent some time away from it. And I didn't fully appreciate the worth of my childhood hometown until I saw it from the perspective of a parent. Raising kids has added a new dimension to the way that I think about community, because I'm not just seeing Temecula through my own eyes anymore. I'm experiencing it through theirs. And watching my kids grow up here, you know, it reminds me of all the things that made Temecula so special to me growing up. And I'm more resolved than ever to protect and preserve that. And that's really what inspired me to join Temecula's Adopt-A-Park program. And I want to share with you a somewhat basic but important lesson that I learned during my work with Adopt-A-Park. When I think about why I'm drawn to volunteerism, it's because from a very early age, I saw others volunteering. There's certainly been no shortage of positive examples to follow in our community. So the first time I went out to clean up the park with my family, I expected my kids to run straight for the playground equipment like they always do. But what happened next actually surprised me. My kids started following me around the park, pointing out litter on the ground and in the bushes. They started playing along by tossing pine cones in the trash bag. They started watching my behavior and copying me. And that's when I had a moment of clarity where I saw in a very immediate and tangible way my values and my parents' values, really Temecula values, being transferred to the next generation. I saw the power of example from the other side, and I learned that leadership is not just about the work that we do today or even about the things that we leave behind. It's about empowering others to serve and to lead and to continue our legacy. And that's why I'm here tonight. That's why I want to serve on the Public and Traffic Safety Commission. Whether it's this year or next year or 12 applications from now, I want you to know that you can count on me to serve our city with dedication and with heart. You can count on me to continue the good work of this commission and to carry our Temecula legacy forward. That's all I have for you now, so thank you for lending me your ear, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yeah, Matt.
Mr. Maddox, it's always nice to see you in the chambers, so thanks for coming out. And I had a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of what you talked about and a lot of what your background is, you've got a technical and creative background. I think you're well suited for a lot of opportunities and support for the city. You talked about your kids and the Adopt-A-Park program, and yet all of that, but you applied for the Traffic Safety Commission. So I was a little surprised to see that, honestly, versus, say, the Community Services Commission. So explain your thought process.
Yes, well, I would be up for any challenge, but specifically why I applied for PTS Commission is that it's always been an area that I've concentrated on more. I think just because of my computer engineering background, my technical background, as you mentioned, I'm sort of drawn to those topics, those types of engineering problems that's involved in traffic safety. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
I do.
Yes.
So, David, I think I've known you since you were a tiny baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I sometimes read your comments in, the neighbors, online.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen you, not recently, but I've seen you in the newspaper online and things like that. So you're very well versed in all things city ordinances and what decisions that the council has made. Where do you get your information? Do you read? Do you watch the meetings?
Yeah, so I mean, ever since I left for college and really started feeling homesick for Temecula, the way that I really kept in touch with the community was to watch city council meetings that were posted online. It was really the only way I could get news on Temecula, other than the press enterprise clippings that my parents would mail me. So I've been keeping up with city business for a long, long time.
Well, I appreciate that you provide facts online.
Sure, yeah.
All right. All right, thank you very much.
All righty, thank you.
Next,
Next
we have
speaker.
Brady McCarran, to be followed by Dallas McLaughlin.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, good evening. My name is Brady McCarran, and there is absolutely no doubt I am probably the newest resident to the City of Temecula to be standing in front of you today. But what I lack in lifelong community attachments to the City of Temecula, I make up for in a lifelong commitment to civil service. I joined the Air Force at the age of 17. I did 20 years, and immediately upon retirement, called California home. Won't mention the city, it's a few cities to the north. But I continued on as a federal employee, and I've been a federal employee for over 12 years now, continuing to serve the men and women who serve in our military forces, providing them information and entertainment. I also serve as a guest teacher, did that to the north, and now I do that in Temecula Unified School District. As a matter of fact, all the teenagers that you saw here were all giving me a strange look today because I have been their guest teacher, and they could not place me, though I could place them. I served 10 years as a planning commissioner for the city of Paris, also serving as the chairman for a year, and believe it or not, Jillian probably does not remember this at all, but when Paris had an inaugural team in the reality relay, I coordinated that team. Dale Wentworth was our survivor, reality star. So if you're looking for a ringer.
A ringer.
How you doing?
Did you win?
We came in third, and it was Paris had never put in a team before, and I'm not going to say who we beat. We lost to Lake Elsinore. There was a second place team, which was not the current city in which I reside.
Oh.
But for inaugural team, we came in third place. Just saying, ringer. Some of the things that I did on the Planning Commission I'm very proud of. They included some of the positions that I'm applying for today, and that's why I said in my application, wherever you would find it best for me to serve, I would be more than willing to serve, because I believe that my background would serve on either committee. When it comes to traffic and safety, one of the things that I was very proactive on in the Planning Commission was the traffic issues that any projects we approved would get through. Paris has a lot of warehouses, which brought a lot of trucks. I was always concerned about truck safety, pollution issues, things of this nature. Always concerned about the residents, not so much the developers, but I concerned myself about what the citizens would have to go through. I apologize for the traffic on 215. It's probably my fault. But also in where I lived, we didn't have an HOA, but we had a citizens watch group, and one of the issues that we had was horrible, horrible traffic. So I got with the city engineer and said, what can we do about our residential traffic? He did a traffic study based on our asking him to do so, and we found out that we had horrible speeders going through, even in a 25-mile-per-hour speed zone. We had people doing 75 miles per hour in a residential area. And we said, that's enough. let's work out an agreement that we could do. And we put in traffic calming measures. It was the only subdivision in the city that had happened on, because I took the initiative to say, this has to change for the safety of my kids. And I was proud to do that, and hopefully other neighborhoods did that as well too. As far as with the community services, I was a member of the Friends of the Library, of the Historical Museum. I was served on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, and I am not a business owner. I joined as an individual because I wanted to be involved in the community in any and every which way I could. For me, being involved in the community in which I live in is not about me as a person. It's about my family, both past and present. My grandmother, as she ran from Poland in the 30s, you can imagine why, always taught me that no matter where I am for more than 5 minutes, I have to make it better than what it was when I got there. And I've been here for more than 5 minutes, and now it's my turn to make this place better than what it was when I got here. I have a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old son who I have to live through. They have to see me make a world a better place because I want them to make a world a better place. I have the education. I have master's degrees in public administration. I have master's degrees in management. I have a bachelor's degree. I'm working on 2 consecutively at the same time. I have education. That's not the issue. The issue is making the world a better place. I believe that I'm qualified for anything that you would have me to do, and it would be an honor to serve because this is my new community. You think that where you are is home, but when you have a calling to go somewhere else and you know that somewhere is calling you, that's where you want to be. This is where my family wanted to be. When I was serving on the Planning Commission in the city of Paris, and you can check the records, I always said, this needs to be up to the Temecula standard. I am now in the Temecula standard, and I would love to serve.
All right. Any questions? Yes.
How long have you actually lived here?
I have proudly lived here since June of last year.
Okay.
I have wanted to live here for over 3 years, but prior commitments have made me not be able to do so.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
And I'm glad I did. And this is my start to serve the city.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Next speaker is Dallas McLaughlin, to be followed by Nicholas.
All right, Nick, I
Oleson.
think you're up because I think Dallas is not here.
Dallas is not here.
Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff, thank you very much for your time and consideration. Whatever decision you guys have to make, it is exciting as a resident of Temecula to see so many people who want to be involved in their community. So whatever decision you make, it's gonna be a good one because there's people who are just so excited about it, myself included. My family moved here in 1988. I attended Temecula Elementary School when it shared the campus with Sparkman. And when I was in 5th grade, actually, Mr. Borgeson was a teacher 2 doors down from my classroom. So I perked up a little when I saw him. I kind of go, oh, man, sit up. I went to Margarita Middle, then Temecula Valley High, and I had to run the dreaded Hemorrhoid Hill. We moved away in the middle of high school for my parents' work. And after college and getting married, when it was time to start our own family, there was no question where we wanted to be, and it was Temecula. My wife's not from here, but we came back as soon as we could. We started our family and have been happy here ever since. Every corner of this city holds a memory for me. This city has given me a lot. It's shaped who I am. And who I am is because a large part of this city. So Temecula is not just a place where I reside, but it's where the future of my family is. Locally, I'm involved in our PTA and the Watchdogs program of Loseño Elementary School, where my 2 sons attend, and my wife is a substitute teacher and the PTA president. That is a scary group of people. I am on the board of my homeowner association, Wolf Creek. I have been the treasurer and am currently the president-elect for the board of directors of the Inland Empire chapter of Community Association Institute, the organization that provides training, education, and advocacy for all HOAs in the nation. Being involved on a commission is an opportunity to continue to contribute to our community and be part of the team that makes Temecula such a great place to live, work, play, and raise a family. As Temecula grows and is increasingly becoming a destination spot, the Public Traffic and Safety Commission is especially a great avenue to be involved where I can utilize my experience and enthusiasm to help the city grow. My background is I have a degree in political science, a currently work for a large landscape company. Now, how does that convert to public safety and traffic? Part of my job is routing a very large fleet of people with equipment. When we burn fuel, that's pollution, that's time. There's a whole lot of reasons to want to make sure what we do as far as traffic is not only safe, but efficient. And as we're growing, we're getting bigger and more people are coming in. That's exciting and that's great. We just have to be able to plan for it, and having different eyes, different levels of experience brings something fresh and new. So thank you very much. Any questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Anthony Redonia, to be followed by James Richardson.
Anthony,
Anthony?
James.
Okay, James
James.
Richardson, to be followed by Odez Salmon.
Mayor Stewart, City Council, staff, it's wonderful to be here tonight. I'm James J.R. Richardson. Everyone knows me as J.R. When the city clerk sent out the invitation to speak, she said, don't go over all of your credentials and the things on your resume. They have all that paperwork. Really focus on why you want to serve. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, nobody really cares what you know till they know that you care. So I'm here tonight to try to articulate to you how deeply I care about my city of Temecula. I've been blessed to serve the last 6 years on the Public Traffic and Safety Commission, including as chairman 1 year. And I will say it has changed who I am as a person to be able to serve our city in that way. My wife and I moved to Temecula in April of 1993, so 27 years, give or take. We've seen a lot of change in this city. And like most people, when we moved here, we knew this was a special place. We couldn't quite put our finger on it, but you just know it's a special place. And you find that when you're out of here, and I'm working in Orange County, and you talk about Temecula, people look at you and you realize they're looking at you kind of funny because you're talking about it as such a special place. And I keep going back to that this is a special place, and it starts at the top. City Manager Adams and your staff, you all care. You don't just come to work and do your job. That caring is in the fabric of the staff and in our city council. And that's what makes Temecula special. I see it in the commissions. I am truly blessed. Director Thomas, and happy to see Mr. Gonzalez here maybe one more time, and our chairman, Mr. Sullivan. The caring on our commission is just, it's breathtaking. It truly is. And I know I say Mayor Edwards every time I address you, but you served on public traffic and safety. You know traffic is hard in this town. When we get 1 or 2 people in our audience, they're there to complain. But it's an opportunity for me and our commission to do something that I don't get to do in my day job as an engineer, but we get to show compassion for those people and make sure they know we care about their problem. And staff is very receptive to not just doing what the book says to do, but trying new things and listening to people and doing things differently in this town. I work in innovation quite a bit, and I was so pleased to see when we put a roundabout in. That's moving forward. We're not just doing things the same old way. So to see that we can have compassion and try new things, and yes, through traffic, make the quality of life in Temecula better. I keep going back when you were mayor, you really emphasized it's about quality of life and safety. And in every thought we have, every decision we make, we really go back to quality of life and the safety of our citizens. And that's why I'm here and reapplying for another term on the Public Traffic and Safety Commission to serve you and serve our citizenry and uphold those goals of quality of life and public safety. And I hope you will allow me to do that for you. Any questions?
Any questions? No, we're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
O'Day, and then followed by David Schroeder.
Good evening, honorable members of the council. Honorable Nagar, I've been here for about a year and a half to answer your question. Prior to that, for almost 30 years, I lived in LA County. My wife, Rania, came out here with my kids looking for a home. And I told her we will not sell our home until we find the place where we want to go. 30 years we're in the same area. And I had a broken leg, bedridden. And I told her it's time for us to look from San Diego to Orange County to out towards Riverside County. And my wife and kids came back with the biggest smile on their face, saying, Dad, we found the area that we want to be in. Fine. What are you guys talking about? I got to get into a wheelchair. Takes me 20 minutes to get into the wheelchair, get into the van, and let's go take a look at where you're talking about. I came here on a Thursday, and by Saturday, I made an offer on our home. And it was the best decision we've made in my life. Temecula has been a godsend to us. I have a background. Obviously, you have everything. I've worked with the LA County District Attorney's Office, liaison with the Sheriff's Department. I have a law degree, a political science degree from Loyola Marymount, many other degrees I don't want to get into, but you've asked us to come here today to tell you what we want to give back to this community. My daughters are wonderful kids. I have a daughter who teaches school here to preschoolers. My other daughter is a manager of a pharmaceutical company. My son is in college right now. But what I want to do is I want to come in and find out what I could do to help alleviate the problems that I see every single day. A lot of traffic, a lot of congestion. We know that Temecula had 3.1 million visitors last year, 26% rise from the year before. And it's only going to get worse and better. Better for our community, yet worse for our traffic. We know traffic. My daughter comes off the 15 freeway. It takes her almost 20 minutes to get to our home, which is in Red Hawk. Traffic is tremendously bad. In our area, they alleviated it a lot. They put in lights, and it's helped a lot. But it's just tip of the iceberg. I think that with the right people in the right position, we could come in here and do a lot and help a lot with our community. As far as traffic safety and public safety, they coordinate with each other. Tonight, you've given awards to these great people who came up on an accident. And accidents happen, whether it's in Temecula or it's in Orange County, LA County, they happen. Speed is the biggest problem for accidents. And people who pass red lights, don't go on the stop signs. And I think that we have the right people in the right area. Yesterday, they started changing the light bulbs in our area. So if you have the right group, which can help you as council members, you have a lot on your agenda. And I think that you need somebody like us commissioners to come in and help alleviate other problems from you and bring to your attention what may or may not need to be done. At that point, we can work together. I believe that I'm a team member, and I've always been a team member. I think that if we work together as a team, there's nothing we cannot accomplish. I do know for a fact, and I've seen it, even though I've been here less than 2 years, and hopefully that doesn't go against me. I see a lot of people been here for a long time. Fresh eyes coming in does not mean that it helps alleviate the problem, but what I can do is, in these 2 years that I've been here, I've seen a lot of growth. I've seen a lot of growth to the point where these cars are spreading out. But I think it's just going to get worse. And I think that if we come with solutions, and I believe there's solutions to be, we will get there. So I hope that I'm honored to be and would be commissioner, And if not, I'll find a way to come in to help the city because I want to give back to a city that's given me everything. So thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
David Schroeder. David?
No, no.
Okay. Catherine Sizemore?
Mayor Stewart, City Council members, city staff, and Temecula residents. I'm Catherine Sizemore, and I'm seeking an appointment to the Community Services Commission. In 1995, I was working for Bank of America in Orange County, California. And a coworker of mine asked for my phone number because she wanted to introduce me to her son's friend. Now, if you'd heard the stories of this son, you wouldn't have wanted to give your phone number to this friend. But she reassured me, look, it's not like you have to marry the guy. Just talk to him on the telephone. Well, I did marry that young man from Temecula. And in 1997, I relocated here to his hometown, where we have been blessed to raise our 3 children. In November of this past year, I had the opportunity to attend the city's celebration of Puesca Mountain Day and to watch the premiere debut of the film documentary, Battle for Puesca. Watching that documentary took me back in time. A time when I was a younger mom of 3 smaller children. It was a time when I opposed this quarry. I feared what it was going to do to my community. And I so badly wanted to voice my opposition with other citizens at rallies. However, as a mom of young children, a homeschooler, and a business owner, there just never seemed to be the time. I just never was able to attend any of the rallies. What I will always remember, though, is the gratitude that I felt for those citizens in our community that had the ability and were willing to fight this battle that I wasn't able to be a part of and participate in during this season of my life. I find myself in a new season of life right now. My 3 children are almost all grown. I have my daughter Emily is a sophomore at UC Irvine. My son Michael is a senior at TVHS. And my youngest, my son Joshua, is completing 8th grade at Temecula Middle School. I have a lot more time, and I'm definitely getting a lot more sleep in this new season. In this new season, I have the ability and I have the desire to give back to my community, serving and supporting other young families, such as mine was, that are growing up in this great city. When my children were younger, their childhood would not have been the same if it had not been for the offerings of our Community Services Department. Classes such as Bigfoot's cartoon drawing class, week-long Wonder Science summer camp, Rod Run, countless productions at Temecula, Old Town Temecula's Community Theater, Easter egg hunts at the park, and how can I ever forget the many First Fridays of December that we spent stringing lights on ourselves so we could march down Old Town Front Street in Santa's Light Parade. These are the events and activities that have contributed to countless fond memories for our family. And I know that our family, our life here in Temecula would not have been as fun or memorable without those activities. I have spent much of the past decade serving the youth and families of our community as a volunteer with Boy Scouts of America and encouraging our youth to pursue education in STEM fields as a volunteer with FIRST Robotics. If given this opportunity to serve as a commissioner on the Community Services Commission, it will allow me the opportunity to make a greater impact in our community by serving a larger population of Temecula residents. It will also let me be able to be a part of ensuring that future generations of our city citizens have these same activities and events available to enrich their lives. Thank you for this time, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you very much.
The next speaker is Brad Sullivan, to be followed by Christopher Warren.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for this opportunity. I want to start also thanking you for the privilege of serving the last 3.5 years. I have had such a great time doing it. It's just been a blast. I actually look forward to these meetings. People think I'm nuts, but it's nice to see what's going on. I look forward to all of the reading and the prep material, and I really look forward to the commission meetings. I guess I would start with what draws me to do this, and it's this community. I mean, besides the fact that I've always been into public services, my CV shows, there's something about Temecula that is just different than almost anywhere else. And you can see that and you can hear it in the presentation of everybody that came up to speak. Because the one thing that they all shared was the human factor, how this community, this city, touched their families, their lives, and that's remarkable. You watch other city council meetings and you've got crazy, angry residents, you've got problems, and you come to ours and 21 people to volunteer to work. I mean, that says something special. And that's kind of landed in my heart too. When I moved here 12 years ago, it took me 10 seconds to adapt from LA. I've never looked back, and I just love the city. As I mentioned, this is my first term seeking a second term. Some of the things I brought to the commission, which I think were unique right away, within my first 2 months on the commission, I noticed that there was a gap in communication between City Hall and the board members and commissioners. I recommended to the city manager's office if there's a way that if we could get copies of the press releases, that'll help us keep up to date, have the facts, and then if somebody asks us a question, we have that information readily available. And I'm pleased to report that did get approved and is done, and I think it's been a great help for all of us to report the facts, as you mentioned, Mary Ann, because so many times the information shared just is not that. I also looked at the 2020 manual for commissioners and board members to see what it was that was expected. And it says to seek your third term, you should have served at least as a vice chair or chair, attended a reasonable number of community events, et cetera, et cetera. Well, within 4 months of being on the commission, I became vice chair. I've been chair for the last 2 years. I've attended almost every function involving traffic and public safety that's been involved, from the big events down to the Know Your Limits events. And I've loved doing it. It's been a labor of love, and I hope I get your permission and approval to continue to do it. I'm here to answer any questions if you have them.
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next speaker is Christopher Warren, to be followed by the last speaker, Travis Winfield.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone here tonight for providing me the opportunity to come up and speak. No matter what the outcome, the feeling that I have now with having the opportunity to express my desire and passion to become a member of one of the commissions will be something that I will always remember for the rest of my life. My name is Chris Warren, a 13-year resident of Temecula. I have 3 older children that are big, including my daughter. All of my kids, they went to school here. They grew up in our home in our beloved city of Temecula. I'm just an ordinary man, a simple person that just so happens to have a big heart, a passion for people, community, and development. My motivation for wanting to be a part of one of these tremendous opportunities, it goes beyond what the job description entails. For me, it's about chiseling and carving my present existence today into a legacy that will continue to live long after I'm no longer here. See, for an ordinary man, my great city of Temecula has provided me with extraordinary opportunities. As a part-time mobile DJ, I have donated time and services for the opportunity to be involved with countless community events and working with community organizers. Events such as Walk for Life. I've worked with Daisy Tate and the Veteran Supplemental Support Network. I've done events for TVHS, Laverne Schoonover when she was there, including their career days for their students. And the list goes on. I love people. I love when community evolves. I've been blessed to be in the position of influence and positivity. I wish to use my passion, my communication, and my ideas to give back to the community that continues to give so much to me. When I think in my mind, I get excited just thinking I could possibly be influential, such as both Erics, Dale, Gary, and Adam on the Community Service Commission. How cool would it be for me to be able to work with passionate team members on park safety, programs for our veterans, activities for our children and our seniors? I think of how awesome it would be to have the possibility to be as legendary as both Bob, Robert, Brad, James, and Ivan, who resides on the Public Traffic Safety Commission. How defining would it be with working with passionate team members on disaster plans for the cities, speed zones, safety for the pedestrians, and working with the team with law enforcement agencies to try to not mitigate, but alleviate drunk and drug-induced driving that has seemed to be reoccurring news in the events of Temecula of late. How extraordinary for an ordinary man would that be? You see, I want to be a part and connected to something meaningful. I've done enough complaining. I want to be a part of the solution. I would like to ask City Council and the mayor to please consider me for one of these opportunities. Thank you so much, and I would like to give you a round of applause for a job well done. Thank you.
All right, any questions for Chris? No? All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Well, Travis is not here, I know that for a fact. So I just want to go on record in thanking you all for being a part of this process, because this is new to us. And in the era of transparency, we really wanted to give you guys a chance to show your passion for our city and these commissions. And I'm blown away, to tell you the truth. So, okay, so being that said, do we want to entertain, well, do we have preferences already? Mr. Nagar, do we have any preferences for the Community Service Commission?
Yes, but perhaps, and this is a new procedure, so I'm sort of just, throwing out some ideas there. The first thing I want to say is my first preference, which just to me is a no-brainer, is the reappointment of Eric Levine.
Right.
And I say that because, not just because of Eric, but I really believe that if an incumbent is doing a good job, has adopted the city culture, which, we talk about often here, is that we don't necessarily not only hire but appoint for experience, but for fit. And that's really, really important. Do you fit the culture? And what I just don't mean the culture of the council, but the culture of the city. And you alluded to it in your Temecula Fun theme. It's just something about it. I also think that, again, if the incumbent commissioner is doing a good job, that's the best performance reward that you can give somebody, is to reappoint them. It also sends, and again, I'm mentioning this because it's a new procedure, it also sends it could send a good, a positive or a negative message to the other commissioners as well, that if they do a good job, depending on how we move here, that their reappointment is iffy, or that they can do a good job and their reappointment is somewhat assured just by virtue of the job that they're doing. And I also, lastly, say that in the spirit of we ask a lot, in particular of the Community Services Commission. It's a commitment. So having said that, I would recommend Eric Levine, but there's a couple of others I wouldn't mind talking further about. We have, if you consider, I want to say not one other opening, but one of the incumbents hasn't reapplied, Eric Willis, for appointment. So if we go with Eric Levine, there's one more to talk about, and I have a few I would mention. I can do that now if you'd like.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, all right, and thank you for indulging me for explaining that. I'm intrigued by Ms. Hawks. Let's see here. Mr. Forgive me, Chris Kraszewski. Let's see. And let me just Nicholas. Let's see here. Pardon me. Miss Sizemore. And let's see. And that's my picks for community services.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Schwank.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So again, thank you everyone for coming out and doing this. I think being the new process that it is, you alluded to that, it's extremely transparent, right? You not only get to come up and speak to us, but you get to watch 14, 13 other people come up in here and speak and see 21 total applicants for this position and realize, like, we're in some pretty good hands with all the folks that we have in our community, right? Like, there's a lot of good people there. Having said that, I too would support Eric Levine. He is putting in the work. He really is. And the fact that your entire commission is here to support you says a lot about fit. It says a lot about the people that not only care about you, but care about the city. So that sort of speaks volumes to me, just sitting up here and reading the room and looking at where everyone's sitting. So that's an easy one. Eric, you're doing a fantastic job, and I would happily support you again for another term. Like Councilmember Nagar, I have a couple others, two folks that really bubbled up for me. As I said, as I poured through, and I had to print out everything because it got convoluted on my iPad trying to read everything, so I actually printed everything out, was making notes and reading through it, and then seeing the presentations really just adds a completely another layer to this process. So for me, for community services, Chris Kraszewski and Catherine Sizemore are two of the folks that I felt did a fantastic job and would also be a very good fit on that commission and within the culture of the city.
All right. Mr. Ron.
All right, thanks. A couple of thoughts before I get into the Community Services Commission. One is something, what Mr. Nagar said earlier. I think it's important to understand, and I think and respect some of the value of incumbency. Don't get me wrong, but I also think it's important that we appoint folks in these commissions who show a dedication and interest. And it's not a club, right? It's an appointment process by the city council. And so I don't want us to fall into, some of that just because of, the status of incumbency. I think that's part of, where we don't want to become stagnant. And there's clearly, if you look across the applications we've received, and the folks who came here to speak to us today, there are tremendous backgrounds in this city. And I think each one has a very unique skill set that they can bring to this city and provide us something very different than we've had, currently on our commission. So I don't want to, overplay that hand, because I think, granted, it's important. There's a culture, there's a vetting that goes on, but then if we keep that philosophy, then we never give other folks a chance in our community to step forward. And so my concern would be, into the future, if we have this pattern and repetition of appointing, incumbents, which we have in the past, which is why I brought this forward in the first place, and sort of change this philosophy. If we fall into that sort of complacency, then it discourages folks like all of those that came forward today to want to have a part in our community because they don't see an opportunity. So I just that's just sort of my perspective on all of this. And that said, Mr. Levine, just yell it out for me. How many years have you served so far? Remind me.
5.
Almost 5. And I think there's, the first couple of years you're just trying to figure out, community services in the city. It reminds me a lot of, just trying to get your feet wet in your new job and understand it. And even though a lot of folks have maybe participated in events at the city, it's a different game, right? Once you get into the commission, and I think all our board members, would tend to agree, or commission members would tend to agree with that, is that it's very different when you get to peek behind the curtain and then participate in your community in a very different way. So you're still new as far as I'm concerned. So I hate to say that, but you are, and I think we've, really appreciated your service. And my God, anybody who's going to show up in a flamingo jacket to a city council meeting and put that on a visual public record for all eternity, just wow. I like to think I'm bold, but I just would never. I don't think they make one that would fit me anyway. But if they did, I don't think I'd wear it. So that said, I think I'd be happy to see him come back again for another term. As far as the other individuals. Ms. Hawks, Dr. Hawks, you're still here. Wow. Just a perspective I haven't seen before. And, if I were to place one candidate above all others, it would be her. Not to say that the other candidates aren't qualified, because they certainly are, but the perspective you gave, and, sort of telling not just your personal story of your involvement in the city, but, your thoughts on what could be, different, and what your contribution could be, is definitely remarkable. I also agree that, Chris, I'm going to butcher your last name.
Krzyzewski.
Sorry. Look, I think that's, you've got some interesting background and connections as well. And I think again, finding that right opportunity and placing that, into its ability to grow within the city, I think is important, right? And you bring, I think, a unique portfolio to that as well. So, those are my recommendations.
Okay. Miss Edwards.
You might think that sitting up here for, how long's it been, a couple hours, hour and a half? That, and just listening to people come up and speak over and over is boring. My jaws hurt from smiling so much. I never tire of hearing other people's love story with Temecula, because that's the way we all feel. And we've always said that Temecula, when you love Temecula, it loves you back. And it really does. Of course, it's just the perfect combination of people, just like all of you who want to get involved, and people who want to work hard, and people who want to protect what we have here, which is very special, and you love your neighbors, and great schools. It's just the perfect combination of everything. And I am certainly glad I am not competing against any of you people for commission. It's just incredible. And I've written something, really, you all stood out in one way or another. And I have notes by everyone's names. But of course, I too, having been a commissioner, I loved every minute of it. And I was out all the time. And traffic and safety is not the happy commission. We rarely have people at our commission meetings unless they're unhappy about something. But, that's what I found so rewarding, when you have to really dig down and find a way to help those people who just want their kids to be safe in their neighborhood, who want to stop people from speeding in front of their house. It's usually your neighbors, but okay.
Just a point of order, this is community services.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, you said public safety.
But I'm talking about how I love traffic and safety,
okay.
and what was rewarding about it. So you've all said something similar about how you want to serve Temecula. So I, kind of like the others, I think Eric has done a great job, and he has a lot of fun. Obviously, anybody is going to show up in a flamingo jacket, and I can see you in that jacket, by the way. I can see it.
So many flamingos would have to die.
Yeah. It's so difficult. I have stars by so many names, but there was one name that had 2 stars next to it, and that was Chris Kashevsky, his passion talking about his kids. But I think he can steal a lot of those ideas from San Diego and Escondido and bring them to Temecula from their parks and rec departments. So those would be my recommendations. And Yuan, that was excellent. I was at the boats and saw your kids, and it was really fantastic. And I'll never forget the look on their faces as they were dragging that soggy lump of wet cardboard out the gate. And so, I would tell everyone, Mr. Nagar, how many times did you apply? 12 times.
12, yeah.
12 times. And sometimes we have people apply and then we never hear from them again. And you have to have a thick skin to be able to do this, and you need to continue to serve in the way that you're serving now. I would tell every single one of you to apply again and again and again, because it's worth it. Temecula is a wonderful place to serve, and we're just your neighbors. And so each one of us knows what an honor it is to sit here, and it's so rewarding. But please apply again. Don't take anything personally. Every single person on my list had something fantastic to say, and your love for Temecula is evident. And really, that's what I count highest on my list of priorities. So, and David, tell your mom I said hi. Yeah. So please apply again. You're going to live here a long time, and you can always help Temecula be better.
Did you want to say something else?
I had a quick question for staff from and maybe our city attorney as well. So one of the things I noticed, and Mr. Nagar, I think when you and I went through the planning commission appointments last go around, I believe, and one of the things that we looked at was sort of attendance of members and so forth, and not not to say that anybody wasn't attending well, but one of the things that cropped up from my perspective, and you'll see where I'm going here in just a second. One of the things that cropped up was that, look, everybody's lives are busy, and there's, periods of time where things get, busy health-wise, family-wise, work-wise, whatever. And so there are occasions when our commissions aren't fully stocked with 5 members. Mm-hmm. So logistically, I just wanted to ask a question as well, is there an opportunity for us to contemplate, I know the Planning Commission is quasi-judicial in its form, and so changing that makeup is more challenging. But from our boards or commissions perspective, having sort of that, I'm lacking the term here, not at large, but the alternate. Thank you. Non-voting, but potentially alternate member that could fill in if a member is absent. So we maintain that 5 and that investment. And then maybe even, along that pathway, find the next, batter up if, a member chooses to depart, or we, decide that their time is up. Is that an option here for us to consider tonight? I mean, I know it's not on the agenda, but, how would we go about that?
Well, the structure of these commissions is set by ordinance, and the way they operate is set by ordinance. And I don't think, as currently drafted, it would permit someone else to come in as an alternate formally. Of course, these are public meetings. People can come and weigh in and participate as members of the public. But the council could direct staff to look into whether the ordinance warrants updates to allow for more participation. It's not something that could really be done tonight, though.
Yeah, no, and I didn't expect it would, but as we're contemplating this, as we're talking about these, qualified folks, I kind of feel like, having the, pitcher warming up in the back there is not a bad idea.
Right.
So, part of what maybe we could, direct staff tonight is to, bring something back for us to review.
Yeah, definitely like that idea.
And Councilmember Ron, we can always do a little inquiry or survey of kind of how other cities, if they have some sort of a alternate type of program, and maybe bring that preliminary information back to you first, and then you can kind of evaluate that and collectively decide if you want to do something different that would warrant the ordinance coming back.
Thank you.
All right, well, for all of you who are applying, we do rely heavily on these commissions. I mean, they are the hands and feet for the council. We only have so much time in a day, and so do you guys, but your guys' focus is a lot narrower, and we count on this. So this is a big deal for us too. So we're being very careful on how we choose. So I agree that Eric Levine has done a great job, and I think he would be an excellent choice to keep on. And based on the count I have, and so there were 2 that Ms. Hawks, and then there was 2 for Ms. Sizemore, and there were 4 for Chris Krzyzewski on that. So are you guys... how do you guys want to proceed? Do you want to, since Chris got 4 of, actually, all of you all mentioned Chris in your second choice, or third choice. So, Mike.
I think I can live with that.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Levine and forgive me, we'll get used to your name. Okay, yeah. And I'd be happy to make that motion, but I have to tell you, in making the motion, it is painful because I'm telling you, there was a lot of impressive people who came up to the podium tonight. But I will make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. All right, so that's 5-0 for Mr. Krzyzewski and Levine. Okay, so now we're to the Public Safety Commission. So, Mr. Nagar.
I agree with Mr. Ron when he talks about falling into the habit of incumbency for the sake of incumbency, and we must never do that.
Right.
And that I want to emphasize, in reappointing an incumbent, you have to evaluate that the job that they did, attendance at meetings, doing the actual work. All of our commissions work.
Yeah.
Okay, if somebody who's applying anticipates coming onto the dais and just making decisions and taking all the prestige that is to be part of this, then they miss the point.
Yeah.
The real job is out there, out in the community. At the same time, that we don't fall into complacency, one of our strengths as a city is the incumbency in the areas where commissioners have done a good job, not only on the commission level, but also on the council level. We just haven't had a lot of turnover, and it's led to a lot of stability in this city that is really reflected out there. And everything that you said, Mr. Mayor, about it being a small town, I think it's lent itself to that. So having said that, I have absolutely no problem with the work that Mr. Richardson has been doing and Mr. Sullivan has been doing, and they would be on the top of my list. I will tell you that I thoroughly enjoy every time David Maddox comes up here and talks. And I'm just always impressed with him because he does do his homework.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and so there's a few others I can mention, but those are the top of my list, and I'll let it go at that.
All right, Mr. Schwank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, it's tough. I think I'd rather handle STRs maybe again. This is extremely difficult, but that's what we're tasked with. So,
That's really saying something too.
yeah. You know, we talk a lot about fit, and I think that's extremely important. Both Mr. Richardson and Mr. Sullivan, they're a good fit. They work extremely well with Mr. Thomas, working with resident groups and people that come to our meetings. And you said it, you're compassionate. You're constantly a visionary, I believe, with some of your thinking. And Mr. Sullivan, I attend a ton of stuff. I'm just out there and enjoying everything we have to offer. And you seem to always be there, whether it's know your limit, or whether it's a DUI checkpoint, or whether it's just a city function. We tend to always run into you. And I appreciate that because you are truly soaking in our community. So I would happily support those two. Mr. Maddox, I think I said this to you in person, and it's funny that you bring that up, Councilmember Edwards, that you're the most reasonable person on Facebook. It's like there's just this thread, and then they're like, oh, there's David, and it's like completely reasoned thought. Mm-hmm. And I told you this, I appreciate that because those are genuine thoughts and facts, and that's the fact that you're willing to put that time in is impressive, and I appreciate that as well. So if we get the on-deck portion of the commission down the road, I think there's some space for folks to easily slide right in. That would be my recommendation.
All right, Mr. Ron.
So, Mr. Sullivan, you're there all the time. You've been, a champion of our community, a champion of our district, and really, look, I know not all of your interactions with staff have been, always at times adversarial. Let's just say, right? And because, and I think it's, I've spent a lot of time talking to staff about, some of the interactions that our boards and commission members have. And, what I've equated it to is just the same passion that we all have for our community and wanting to get information and do the right thing. And so that was one of the things that I really appreciate about your, involvement, especially early on, was, your willingness to serve, as a vice chair after only a few months of being there and testing the waters, but also asking for those changes. And it's not easy, and you're seeing some of that here tonight because I asked for, this change, and it's a very painful process. I'd go so far as to, say that we, bring back the meetings on districting or cannabis, because that was way more fun than what we're doing here tonight. But that said, I think the opportunity for you to continue serving, I think, is definitely appropriate, because you've done, an outstanding job. And Jay, I mean, wow, your background is so unique. And I think that's one of the things that we all struggle with, is that everybody, you look across the resumes of all the applicants, and, Temecula's talent pool is pretty remarkable, and I read about businesses and things that folks are doing I had no idea are even going on in town. And it's an amazing thing to see what everybody has done. And you have definitely brought to the table a perspective that, I think arguably our traffic, safety commission has never had before. And so it's hard to want to let go of that, because, I think it's incumbent on us to take advantage of that for as long as you're willing. Yeah. Now, all of that said, and I would bring this up to Eric as well, and our incumbents. When I first got on the city council, it was, I met with a lot of you folks and went through and had meetings scheduled with all of our board and commission members, and made it clear that, and I think Mr. Nagar, you said it best, that the board and commission members do a lot of heavy lifting for us as a council, but also our community. And so I really wanted to see, the board and commission members given as much support as they can have, improve the interaction with the council and really get, more of a dialogue going of how we can, address, issues. We're all just residents here trying to, make Temecula a wonderful community. And so, all of you have stepped up in very meaningful ways since, we've had those conversations. And so I really do appreciate that. But if we're going to reappoint incumbents, I'm going to ask you to step it up again because I really want, to be able to, and we've handed off to you guys, a lot of difficult topics to address over the last several years. And I know that your meetings at times have been almost as fun as ours have, and yet you've handled it very well. And so I really want to, create, and instill in all of our board and commission members that ethic of really stepping forward and identifying those areas that you think can help make our community thrive. So that said, I'm looking at Mr. Maddox again and thinking, again, with the talent pool that's out there, you've been at a lot of meetings. I keep running into you everywhere, and while I'm not as engaged in Facebook as other folks are, I do come across your writings on occasion and remarkably balanced for what Facebook usually has to offer. So
Yes.
Wonderful to see that. And again, I think what I'd like to come back to is the idea that we create that that opportunity for folks like yourselves. And Ms. Hawks, I'm looking at you as well to really step up. To still be able to find an opportunity to serve. So I don't know what we can do as part of our motion tonight, but there are some individuals here that if we do have an opportunity to establish Greg alternate. Thank you. Jeez, it's getting late. An alternate position or something along those lines. That we do that, but at least the talent pool that we've identified here tonight, I think is that next generation, that next opportunity. So I don't want to lose sight of that. I don't know if there's anything we can do to formalize that here. Probably not. My city attorney's saying not. Just stop talking. Okay, so I'll just let that one stay there for now, and agree that I'd love to see our incumbents appointed, but please indulge me in seeing if we can find another opportunity for our residents to engage.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
may I just add a comment?
Sure.
Matt, I'm intrigued with that, and I want to see that. And I also want to have a broader discussion. There is a talent pool out there, and I don't know what the broader discussion is, but how do you tap into that talent pool? I like the alternate, and I won't get off on the Brown Act. I know he's staring down my back there. So when that comes back, that's an interesting thing we can talk about. But that notwithstanding, there's a talent pool out there. So let's just sort of keep that in the ether.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not going to get the opportunity to appoint 11 members to each board and commission, right?
Exactly.
I think, although we would love to, I don't think staff would want to manage those meetings personally, but I think, you'd love to see that level of engagement, and there's so many people here tonight that I think, I think we really need to, sit down, sharpen our pencils a bit, and find out how outside of, whether it's, what we're talking about here, or creating more opportunities for these folks to stay engaged. Because, we've sat in my office and we've had great conversations, and I think there's huge opportunities, awaiting a lot of these folks. And I would love to see that, grow. I just, maybe we bring that back as an item for discussion at a future point, because I don't want folks to walk away here disheartened by any means. I would really like to see us come away with, some opportunities and, that kitchen cabinet sort of, philosophy that, other elected officials and members have, where we have these community members who stay engaged, who keep, a part of the dialogue and the conversation.
Right, Ms. Edwards.
Well, Brad, and James have been wonderful, and I love the challenge to step it up a notch. You know, when you're running 110 miles an hour, you're gonna kick it up to 115. Temecula still has a lot of possibilities where it comes to traffic and safety. I love the roundabouts, and I think we have some opportunities to do some more of those. And with new technology coming online all the time, and cameras in our parks and safety, and there's just a lot to do. And you guys get to work with police and fire also, and I always thought that was, wonderful. And I think that, you can continue to nurture that relationship and see how we can support our police and firefighters as well. So, I'm going to go with the two incumbents, and David, I've got 2 stars by your name too. So, and I would encourage you, and I can tell you what y'all can do. A lot of these meetings, there just is nobody in the audience, and these people do very important work, and they talk about important things. You can attend those meetings, and I know as a council member, we have had regular we call them groupies, or we've had regular people come to our council meetings for years. And they come up to it afterwards and they talk to us and they provide advice or they tell us what they think. And I really appreciate that. There's no reason you can't do that at the commission meetings. Become a part of that commission by sitting in the audience. Get to know your commissioners. You'll communicate with them. And I know you all have great ideas because we heard them tonight. So that's one way to get involved and to really feel like you're part of things. Tom and I started going to council meetings when the first council convened. That one was a little difficult because it was in that caboose that was over on Pujol Street, and we really couldn't fit. But we remember when the council meetings were in the CRC, the rec center. So we went to so many council meetings, and then when they began to be televised, we watched at home. So I was either watching at home or we were sitting in the meetings. And it's where you really get to learn. You get to makes you even more proud of Temecula, if that's possible. But it really does engage you, and you can see the workings of the commissions. And then you can also go to those events. Commissioners go to, park openings and dedications for traffic circles and the new bridges and all that. And I did that as a resident, PTA mom, and took my 3 little kids with me because we loved our city and we didn't want to miss out on anything. And there's still so much going on in Temecula. You can get engaged like that. Become a part of those commissions as a supporter or, an advisor in the audience. And they love to hear from you. They love to hear your ideas. So I'm going to go with our 2 incumbents. And I would like to, I'd like to entertain that idea about the alternate.
Yeah. Okay, well, before we take a formal motion, I do want to make all of you aware who aren't going to get picked that there's 2 more commissions coming up in April and May. So it's the Old Town Local Review Board and the Planning Commission. So please reapply for that too, because I was so impressed by all of you. There wasn't a single one that I wouldn't take. So it's just a matter of, we do have the cream of the crop here, and so we're about trying to keep that. So I'll entertain a motion since it looks like the incumbents are the...
Move approval.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
I don't have mine.
Councilmember Edwards, are you an aye?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so that passes 5-0. So again, please reapply. We need you guys to keep in the process because this was kind of really our first attempt at this, and the number of qualified people who came out, we were blown away with, because usually we don't get this kind of response. So, and I think just by you all being here together, you guys could hear each other's passion and know what a tough decision we just had to make, So please keep in the system and keep applying, and like Mary Ann was saying, engage. and let us see you, and let them see you. And
It's fun.
yeah, and it is fun. Absolutely. So, all right, so we're off to commission reports. Do we have any commission reports?
No commission report, but again, thank you for the opportunity to serve another term. I'm excited about it and look forward to being of service. To those that didn't get appointed, I didn't apply as many times as Councilmember Nagar, but I think it was 4 times till I got appointed as well. And you just keep staying at it, and your time does come at some point. Thank you.
That's right.
No report, but I will see you in May doing this. Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Just real briefly, I just want to thank all the applicants as well, and just echo the comments that Marianne mentioned, and invite you all to our commission meetings. It was very overwhelming almost to see the amount of people coming out with a passion for public service. So I definitely, appreciate that. Congratulations to Mr. Levine, and we'll just call you CK maybe, and kind of welcoming of that. And I did want to go on record as well. You guys mentioned Eric Willis. He had planned on being here tonight and is just not feeling well. But we all definitely appreciate his time, service, and leadership. So Eric, if you're listening, know that we all appreciate what you've done for us, and we're going to miss you on the commission.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, public safety report.
Oh, good evening. For the month of January, we ran a total of 838 calls, which is basically about 100 more than we did from last January. As far as our planning, the plan reviews, construction inspections, the annual inspections, and our counter at the public inquiries, 892 public contacts for that. And as far as our public education for the city, we ended up having 12 events with a total of about 588 public contacts. So the end report.
All right, city manager's report.
Nothing further tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, city attorney report.
The city council met earlier in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8 regarding the acquisition of certain property interests. The council unanimously set just compensation for the right-of-way property interests listed in the closed session agenda title for French Valley Interchange 2 and authorized the city's negotiators to make offers to the property owners. Final action on the acquisitions will be taken in open session.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we will conclude this city council meeting, and we will adjourn till February 25th, 2020.